Money is a tool. Spine surgeries is what I'm usually in, and whatever equipment that I've either sold the surgeon or the hospital, I'm the expert on it. When I first went in, they asked me, well, are you squeamish?
I couldn't imagine what that is like.
Sometimes I have to tell the doctor, stop. Wow. Don't do that. I got the opportunity to meet my basketball idol, Michael Jordan.
So you mentioned Kobe. Have you ever met him?
I have met him.
Hey, Monty.
Hey, Arlan.
How are you doing?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing well.
It's a pleasure being here.
I'm so happy to see you.
Thank you. Happy to see you, too.
Yeah, Monty. Okay, so I'm excited about this because on purpose, I didn't ask anybody any questions, any pre-questions, because I wanted to really dig in a little bit, because you fascinate me. You have like a demeanor that's very calming, which I like. Have you been told that before?
I have been told that quite a bit. Well, all my life, actually. So.
Really? So as a child, were you kind of more quiet and observant?
You know what's funny, Arlan? Early on, like when I was in early elementary, like I got in trouble a lot for talking too much in class.
I can't believe it. I cannot.
And then at some point, I just was this quiet, kind of reserved, as people say, mysterious type of person. So
I think it's really interesting and refreshing. But you do have things to say. Like there's so much in your background that was touched upon in one of our conversations I wanted to talk about. So first of all, what do you do today? How do you identify yourself in your roles?
Right now, I'm just basically doing kind of some consulting work, basically through MedTech. I was in MedTech sales I've been in there for 11 years, so it's what I've learned, what I know, and now I've just kind of shifted from what I was doing before and just kind of doing consulting work for different startups. So
MedTech, is that something that you have to have a lot of knowledge about medicine to do, or is it more sales? Like, what is that really?
It's more sales, but you do have to know what you're doing, because I am actually in the OR with the surgeon, so I have to be. They can't do a surgery unless I'm there, if they're using my instruments or whatever I'm selling. So
that's fascinating. So I knew it. I knew that. So you align yourself with some sort of instrument, some sort of technology that's used in these life or death moments.
Yeah, it's well, I'm primarily spine. So spine surgeries is what I'm usually in, and whatever equipment that I've either sold the surgeon or the hospital, I'm the expert on it. And I have to be the expert on the body, and I have to know how they put it in, and sometimes I have to tell the doctor, stop.
Wow.
Don't do that. Back it off, or change your angle, or, so a lot of people don't know that. And when I tell them, they're like,
I have never heard that before. So is your fascination with the spine related to your work in basketball?
No, actually, my degree is in medical technology. And then when I came out of college, I ended up I got my real estate license in California, and I ended up going into real estate and did nothing with it.
Okay.
And then a friend of mine was in med tech sales, and he said, well, come try it. So spine is just something I kind of fell into because of the surgeons and most of the surgeries I was in. So I just ended up learning spine and got pretty good at it, and here I am 11 years later.
Incredible. Okay. Well, I have to talk to you about basketball. How tall are you?
Of course. 6'6".
6'6",
yes.
As am I.
Yes.
6'6". And tell me, did you grow up playing basketball? Were you when were you 6 foot? What age?
Funny story. Basketball was the last sport that I picked up.
Okay.
Growing up in Texas back then, football is king.
Dallas. We're from Dallas.
Yeah.
So,
I always wanted to play football. That was the thing. I wanted to play for the Dallas Cowboys when I grew up. Played football for a few years. Was a little light in the pants, a little thin, and got tired of getting hit after a while. But was athletic, was good. I played baseball. I played like all sports. And in 9th grade, I was like, you know what? Try basketball.
Were you already tall at this point?
No, I wasn't. I was average height.
Okay.
I was average height. When I graduated from high school, I was probably 6'1".
That's
so
average?
I grew about...
6'1's average?
Well, not
Come on
average,
now.
but...
6'1".
But for basketball, it can be on the shorter side.
Yeah,
and then
for sure.
I got to college and I grew another 5 inches.
Wow, I haven't heard it being that late.
Yeah. I mean, well, it is late, but I should have actually been a year behind.
Oh, okay.
My mom started me in school like when I was 4 because my birthday falls late.
Okay, so you were like 17 going on to 18, really.
So I was 17 when I went into college.
Yeah.
So I grew my freshman year another 5
so
inches.
So 9th grade, you said, let me try this basketball thing, not knowing that a few years later, you'd be...
I had no idea because I was terrible.
Right into it. You're bad at it.
Yeah, I never played organized basketball.
Okay.
I mean, I was athletic, but I wasn't good.
Did you get good in college?
I started getting good towards my senior year. Junior, senior year, and I was still raw.
Yeah.
You know, it takes a while to learn a new sport.
Yeah.
And so I tried to rely on athleticism as much as possible, but there was still a lot of facets to the game that I didn't know and understand.
Yeah.
And then I just kept working and working and working. And what a lot of people don't know is I had pretty high GPA coming out of high school, so I earned a full academic scholarship to University of Texas. And then I ended up talking to the coaches and the team. I would play with the team, and they were like, and they knew I wanted to play, and they were like, oh, you can play. We're going to talk to the coach. And so they ended up talking to the coaches. They let me come try out, and I ended up making a team.
Was it high school and college that you ended up meeting these different people who would go on to be these household names in basketball?
Yeah, well, not so much in college. It was more so, honestly, when I moved to L.A.
Yeah.
And started playing kind of in the basketball pro-am circuit here in L.A.
Okay, tell me about that, because I'm not familiar. I'm barely familiar with NBA.
Okay.
Tell me a little bit about how that works.
So there's a league in L.A., which is where we're now called the Drew League.
Oh.
It's been, how many years has it been going on? Long before I came along. So when I came out here, I started playing in little leagues here or there, and my coach in the Drew League, his daughter actually saw me play in another league, and she said, well, hey, come play with us in this league. And so I played there, and then they said, well, come play with us in the Drew. And so in 2005 was the first year I played in the Drew. And the Drew, if you look at the history, I mean, everyone's played in it, from Kobe to LeBron to KD to, probably every NBA player you can think of has set foot in the Drew League. So, once you've played in the Drew, as far as pro-ams are concerned. So it's just like a circuit. They have several, like there's the Goodman League, I think, out in back east. Of course, everybody knows Rucker Park in that league.
Oh, everybody knows Rucker Park.
Yeah.
I don't know Rucker Park, but everybody does.
Yeah, in the basketball world. But
Yeah.
Rucker Park's a big, iconic.
So the people who love basketball, they
they know these leagues.
The
so if you played in the Drew, and we actually won it the first year that I played in the Drew.
Yeah,
so,
well, I'll tell you, I didn't know who Luka was 2 years ago. So
I remember
me.
us. Yeah, I remember that.
Forgive me.
I remember that.
But that's cool. So I know that there's some relationship to Michael Jordan's academy or something of that sort.
Right. So a really good friend of mine is really has basically grown up with Michael as his almost godfather, basically.
Yeah.
So he started a league. He ran it for 22 years, I believe it was in total. And I came on, I think I worked the last 11 or 12 of them, if I remember correctly. But he had a basketball camp, which I took my kids to when I coached, and we were there for 10 days. And you had a team early on, which I think I missed this part. They used to have a lot of the guys that were going into the NBA as mentors or coaches there. And so I got the opportunity to meet my basketball idol, Michael Jordan. I remember when I first met him, or first was even around him, I was just kind of like, and I'm not a starstruck person at all.
Yeah, I can't imagine you being. I really can't.
But I think I was like, oh man, that's Michael Jordan.
Well, when was that? When would that have been that you were first in the room with him?
That was, let me think back. It ended in 2017, so that had to be around 2006-ish, something like that, if I remember correctly.
Do you remember the first time you talked to him or interacted with him?
Yeah, so you take pictures with them each time.
Yeah.
And so I took picture with, that was my first conversation, but I remember we were out, and I was sitting on a couch, and my friend was standing next to me, and I was on the end of the couch, and Jordan sat next to me, but I was talking to my friend, so I didn't really see him sitting next to me. And my friend was like, kind of nudged me like, Michael's sitting next to you. And I was like, and I kind of turned and looked, and he was like, and he said, hey, what's up, man? And I was like, hey, what's it?
Hi, Michael Jordan.
Yeah, and so it was kind of that awestruck moment. But as I continue to go year after year, he gets to know you, and he recognizes your face, and I don't know if he remembers my name, but he would always joke and laugh with us, once he got to know you after a while. So it was, if I saw him today on the street, I'm sure he would remember, and he would probably say, "Oh, what's up, man?" But.
Yeah. And what does that mean to? I guess you were in front of, for a decade, or more. You were in front of all these, I guess, children and teenagers.
Yeah.
What does it mean to be at a pinnacle time in their life?
You know what? I have children of my own, and it's interesting because you don't realize, I think, a lot of times how much they look up to, whether you're just a coach or whether you're, just a figure in their community, or they watch you more than you realize, and they pick up on your habits and they pick up on your demeanor.
Yeah.
And I think coaching them, I realize, like, okay, you do have this effect on them, and your demeanor does filter through your team or through the kids. And I think my calm demeanor, even in, whether stressful situations during the game, or they would kind of mirror, my demeanor or my approach to the game. And so having that influence on young kids is something I think that a lot of people may not realize.
They're watching.
They're watching.
And it's making a difference.
Yeah.
Speaking of demeanor, there's Jason Kidd. His style of coaching is very quiet.
Yeah.
And then there are other people who just explode, every turn. Do you watch the NBA? Do you keep up with, every season and have opinions and different things like that?
Yeah, always. I always keep up. I keep up with all basketball. I'll watch high school basketball. I'll watch college. Oh, wow. And I'll watch NBA.
You like it? You just like, is it, do you love, I guess, what's the relationship you have with basketball?
I think because I had to work very hard at it, because it wasn't my first sport, I think I developed a love for it even more so than like football per se.
Yeah.
Because I gave it like my time, my sweat, my tears, like times in the gym by myself. I find an empty gym even to this day. Like I'll go in with a basketball and it's therapy for me.
Yeah.
It's relaxing. Healing. And so, but yes, I do follow the NBA. I do watch the coaches. I ended up going to the last Laker game I sat really close to the bench.
Yeah.
And I like to watch the interaction. I like to hear them talk. I like to hear, if I can hear the coaches talking or watch their reactions, and every coach has a different style.
Yeah.
And I think growing up in basketball, just like in the real world, if you're at a company or you're working for someone, sometimes you can't control who your boss is, how they interact with you.
Or who your colleagues are.
Or who your colleagues are. And you have to adjust and still find a way to get the best out of yourself, because a lot of times they don't know how to get the best out of you. And sometimes you'll be blessed enough to find a, colleague or a manager that knows how to pull more out of you than you know is there.
Yeah.
But a lot of times that's not the case. So I think, it teaches you about life, and you may have a coach that you don't necessarily, like, or may not have the approach that you like or that you respond to well. So it just basketball that's taught, and sports in general. Like you can find it, I'm sure some people find it in football or whatever, but. Yeah.
Well, that begs the question, have you ever thought about or attempted to be like on the coaching staff of an NBA
I never thought about doing coaching that much. I coached and this was because I wanted to give back more so to the kids in the community because I thought I had something to go. I coached at Inglewood High School for, I think it was 3 years. Back in, was it 09 to maybe 2012 or so. And I coached JV, helped with the varsity.
Is it something you would do if it was on the table?
Yeah, it is something I would do. I would enjoy it. Yeah,
because there's like, speaking of, the bench, there's a lot of people you don't realize who are part of that team.
Right.
There's like 10 people who they have laptops out and they're doing all this math and all this stuff. And so there's different, do you know that role that you would love? I'm trying to make some magic happen.
Honestly, the role that I would love and that a lot of people don't know, and I'll tell you, is I made an attempt to try to get into the front office of an NBA team.
It's like the corporate side of things.
The corporate side of things, and more so like in the boardroom, like building teams and what player fits here and what player fits with this team and what player fits with that player. And so because of some of the people that I had, developed relationships with, I kind of worked through Mark Jackson, which is the voice of ESPN, calls the games.
Fair.
Good friend of mine. He was actually helping me out. Like, send a letter to this person. I'll talk to this person. And I talked to a few, and I was even offered it was more of a, like internship role. To start out, which, you got to start at the bottom and kind of work your way up. And just due to my responsibilities family-wise, I said, I appreciate the offer, but, I just, financially I can't.
Yeah, because you got to start.
Yeah, you have to start.
You've already had this career that you have.
Right.
I think it makes sense.
Yeah,
it does seem, though, it seems like it would fit like a glove for you. It just seems so right up your alley. I can see you with the clipboard talking to people and, doing these things.
And I think I do well with understanding different people. And accepting them for who they are. And knowing, even in basketball, to be a leader, like there are different leaders, Kobe, LeBron, MJ, they all have different styles. Kobe and Michael were more like, I'm in your face.
Bravado.
If I got to punch you, I'm going to punch you to get, And, LeBron's a little different approach. And I think being able to, for a coach, be able to relate to, know that this player, I can't really yell at him because he goes into a shell. But this player, I'm going to have to basically cuss him out and make him mad in order for him to give me what I need him to give me.
Yes. We're going to make you, I've decided, you're going to be the coach whisperer.
Okay.
So you may not necessarily work at a certain team, but you're going to go from team to team and work with the coaches.
Okay.
And, y'all heard it here first. This is what we're going to manifest because that is really specific, and you know that about yourself, and I'm sure it's something that, being at these games now, seeing all that, there's so much that happens. It's very dramatic that happens. And I think that sort of, I don't want to say tender, but like that more human side to things, I think it's really important, and that being okay. So don't be surprised if I call you up and I'm just like,
hey, you're welcome to call me anytime.
Yeah. So you mentioned before that there are a few relationships you had built over time with these different, and I just want to let the audience know a few of your because you kind of blew me away when you were telling me some of your friends' names. And I'm like, is there anybody you can say? I know you try to keep it kind of private, but
it's funny. In LA, people love to name drop.
That's right, and you're not that person.
And I'm the opposite of that.
Yeah,
and then when people find out, like, so and so, I'm like, oh yeah.
We could just say that it's a lot of the NBA players,
Yeah. I mean, especially ones from locally, and I don't think there's any harm in saying it, but like Russell Westbrook, I've known him since he was, I think, like a junior in high school.
Wow.
Because one of my best friends coached him, and he would be with us sometimes when we played in the Drew League, or was a great kid, and I love him. I root for him. Darrell Wright, who's no longer in the league, but a good friend of mine. He played. Now his younger brother is playing. So, I've played with a lot of them in the Drew, as well, or against them.
Yep.
So, I could probably go on and on, but those are some.
Because this is your first million, you talked a little bit before about the decision you made not necessarily to go into the NBA in the front office because you have established a career, which is, interesting decision to be able to make, right? Like, that's kind of cool. There are people who are, well, first of all, there are people who heard you at the beginning say that you get to work in these really interesting situations with doctors, med tech. There are people who are like kind of drawn to that. Are there a lot of roles there? Because I want to be able to help anybody who's listening who is interested in that know where to go.
There are roles there. It's how can I describe it? It's like a lot of other industries. And you, let's say in the VC world, per se.
Yeah.
Like you have your kind of circle of people, and if you don't necessarily know the right people to talk to.
Oh, it's insulated.
And so once you're in, and I had an in because my friend that was already in, he actually, I went to college with him. So he got me in, and then once you're in, then you find that the same people kind of circulate, whether it's from company to company or whatnot. Yeah. So it's just like kind of with many other industries, it's who you know, unless you come right out of, like say college or some. I think they even have med tech like training pro school.
Well, that's the kind of thing that somebody can look up and if they're interested in that kind of thing.
And if you're younger, I say, and you want to go that route, start early, and then come in. But it's pretty much who you know, and if also, I remember when I first went in, they asked me, well, are you squeamish?
I would not make it.
Blood surgery, whatnot. I said, no, I'm fine. And I was. I didn't have any issues, but I know people that have kind of got lightheaded or one of my friends, I wasn't there, but he said, first time I went and I fainted.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Well, I think it's something like 10% of people faint at the sight of blood. I'm one of them.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Unless it's an emergency and I have to help someone. I have fainted. I fainted in high school and giving blood in the library.
Oh, okay.
Woke up to tungsten lights in my face. But yeah, I couldn't imagine what that is like. But I forced myself to watch the doctor shows, and they're so realistic. So. Now, speaking of doctor shows and shows in general and your demeanor, I was absolutely floored when I learned that you and your fiance went on a game show.
Yes, we did.
You got to tell me about this. You got to tell us about this.
So as you can imagine with my demeanor, a game show or TV is not necessarily my go-to.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you the story. She unknowingly applied for Wipeout for me.
You did not know that she did that.
I did not know
She
this.
knew she did it.
She knew she did it. She claims that she forgot to tell me.
Yeah.
Until I got a call from a random number.
Why did she even think to apply to Wipeout for you?
She felt that I was athletic and she thought I would be good at it.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah. So I appreciate her having, faith and support.
Yeah.
But didn't particularly want to go on Wipeout.
Yeah.
And so this story kind of goes and they called and they said, hey, well, is there someone you'd like to do it with? I'm like, of course there is. She's right here.
It's a fantastic woman who signed us up.
So it kind of backfired on her.
That's funny.
But fast forward, they didn't end up selecting us for that show.
Yeah.
And another show came up, and the casting agency reached out to us, and so we ended up getting on The Final Straw.
The Final Straw.
And so.
Now, I have seen the footage.
Okay.
I would like for you to describe what The Final Straw is.
So The Final Straw is basically, to put it simply, it's like a huge Jenga.
But made of what?
But made of just different. Each tower has a theme. So like one was candy. I think one was like a Texas theme, which it just so happened.
Nice.
I was from Texas. Yeah. And so they're different, like barrels and pieces of, fake pieces of dynamite and just stacked up. I mean, as far as like huge.
Yeah. It's
And
just
so,
absolutely incredible
Yeah.
structures that are
Yes.
built.
And so you have to, just like Jenga, you take turns. You have a teammate, and you're competing against the team, and you take turns pulling until it falls over.
And the host is Janelle, who plays Ava on Abbott Elementary,
Abbott
who
Elementary,
is
yes.
absolutely hilarious, and also one of the best new characters on television there is, if not the best.
She's hilarious.
Yeah.
I started watching Abbott after
you went on.
Yes.
What was the experience like to be on that show?
It was fun. I'm glad I did it.
Yeah?
It's outside of my, comfort zone.
Yeah.
But you have to push yourself beyond your comfort zones, I think, sometimes, to even find out new things about yourself. So it's funny because playing in college, you're on TV, but when you play a sport, you're almost so focused on the game, you don't really even realize your surroundings almost.
I find that in the audience. I didn't even realize there's a camera. I can't imagine what it's like for somebody who's actually exerting energy.
Yeah.
And not eating popcorn and
yeah, so it was just being on TV and knowing the camera's on me. I've always shied away from cameras or attention. That's just been me. So it was fun to do something that was, and I'm glad she pushed me to do it. I'm glad she got me to do it. So, but I was nervous.
Was there ever a point where you thought, I'm not doing this?
No.
Really?
No.
That is fascinating. So that I think people can learn a lot from that.
No.
Like you're saying, push yourself, go beyond your comfort zone. What did you think you were going to get out of it?
I think I thought, what's the worst that can happen? Like.
So you don't. There's something really strong, I think, about not fearing embarrassment. Because you could say, "Oh, my boys are going to see this," but it's like, cool. I'm alive. I get to do this. This is fun. I get to do.
But I have to remind myself of that sometimes because I am very self-aware of. I don't want to come across a certain way or be embarrassed or. No one likes rejection. I don't like rejection or losing or failing, especially on national TV.
But you pushed yourself.
But I pushed myself, and not once did I think, no, don't do this.
Do you thank your fiance for that? And I know she's in the next room, so you can say whatever you want.
I absolutely do.
Yeah.
I absolutely. If it was not for her, I would have never. I probably would have never been on this show.
Right.
And to be honest, if it wasn't for her, there's a lot of, I probably wouldn't know you.
Yeah, that's right.
So she's definitely been instrumental in helping me, and I think that's what you need in a partner.
Yeah.
Is someone that pushes you beyond what you think you're capable of doing.
Do you think about your partner as like you two are like? Are you married or
no
fiance? Right. So you're going to be married. Do you think of yourselves as like? I don't know, I guess when you're thinking about your future, like, is it kind of like you're co-founders of a company?
Yeah.
Of this relationship?
Yeah, and I have my parents as a great model. When you're a team, just like a basketball team, it's just two of you, but you're a team, you're one. So you're hopefully you have a teammate that has some of the same aspirations and goals, and y'all can push each other to that point.
Yeah.
But it's a team, and I push her in other ways. Whether it's in dealing with certain relationships within in her life, and how to deal with them, and how sometimes keeping your demeanor at a certain level.
It's like feet on the ground, head in the clouds. Perfect combination.
Yeah. So we feed off each other and help each other.
Yeah. And then because, again, this is your first million, how important is money to you?
Money is a tool.
Hey, I said that. I said that recently.
Money is a tool, and I'm realizing that more and more. I grew up middle-class family. My dad was the mentality of job. I'm going to have a job, because he came from even less. It was like 9 of them, in a 2-bedroom house, So my mom had more. She was a teacher, but she opened her own bakery. She had more kind of the entrepreneurial mindset. So I got a little bit of both. But I'm just seeing money as a tool as of the last few years. And I think in our society, in our culture, we look at it almost like as a scarcity.
Yeah.
You know, in the black community, like once you have it, you want to hold on to it because you don't ever want to go back to being,
it's absolutely true.
you know, broke again.
And you don't want to tell everybody else where it is.
Yes.
Where you found it.
Yes. And so, in that part, like I am so much a proponent of if I find or even think I found something, like I'm, you know, I have my group of friends, like I'm quick to, hey, this is something that I found out. If you would like to look into it, you know, let me know. And I'm finding out more about it, and I'll share whatever I can share with you along the way. You know, because it's no fun, like being the only person with money in your group. Like you should want your
it's
core group to you know thrive and be financially stable and whatnot. So
So you mentioned Kobe a couple of times, being in LA. Have you ever met him?
I have met him. I've met him on several occasions.
Yeah, what was that like? And when did you? I mean, how did you meet him?
Well, the first time I met him was at a, and this loops back. I'm not a TV person, but I was playing basketball. That Nike used to have like a private run. When I say run, like you had to be invited to play basketball at this particular gym on a certain night. And they would give out product and things to kind of, you know, incentivize you. And through that, they asked, hey, we're going to take pictures of you. We're doing something, you know, with they didn't say with who, but because I've done it with a few other people too. I did one with LeBron, I think Elton Brand, Ben Gordon at the time.
When you say done one, you've done one. It's a picture.
Sorry,
or
it's more of like a online ad.
Yeah.
You know, / online commercial.
Is it like video of you playing?
Yeah, there are still some on. Some of them were instructional. Like there was some, you know, LeBron's it's called Signature Move, I think it is, and you can YouTube it, I think, and it pops up.
Nice.
And so they show different moves, and something Nike does, but yeah. So back to Kobe. The first time I did one with Kobe, you know, they told us, oh, it's gonna be with Kobe. It's his first shoe. It's for his first shoe, and you know, Kobe had kind of gotten a reputation for kind of being, you know,
hard to deal with,
or antisocial, or kind of aloof, or whatever the case may be. And so I didn't really expect much interaction with him. And I remember when we were there, we were kind of in a group, me and the guys that were there for the commercial. Someone came up and kind of chucked me in my ribs from behind.
Yeah.
And I turned and it was Kobe.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
It was playfully.
Playfully.
Yeah.
And he was one of the most pleasant, like playful, you know, people like in that environment. I don't know if it's because it was a closed environment or whatnot, but, you know, and I was like, oh, this dude isn't anything like people paint him out to be.
Yeah.
He was a, you know, great guy. And I did, I think, one or two more with him after that and would see him. I even worked his basketball camp. He had a basketball camp too.
Nice.
So, yeah, it's a great guy.
Can I ask you if you remember where you were when you found out about his untimely death?
Yeah, I was actually in the Bay Area visiting my fiance, and we had gotten up. It was early, and she came in and she was like, they said Kobe's dead. And I was like, wait, what? You know, and I didn't believe it, so obviously I got on my phone and kept, you know, searching, and you know, it was, you know, even though like I wasn't like his best friend or close to him, it was jarring, as it was for a lot of the country, because you wouldn't expect. And I think he was just finding his, like, I don't know, it seemed like he was really into like his family and his girls, and he was at a point where he was starting to give like himself back to people and enjoying things. So I really hated to see, and I do think like I would have gotten more interaction with him at some point.
Yeah. There's a mourning of that, of what could have been. Of course. Yeah. And do you feel there was a coming together of the NBA community or the basketball community that was a little bit separate from what the average person would have seen?
Yeah, there was.
Yeah.
There was. A lot of them, I think, grieved personally and not, in front of the cameras. LeBron kind of, went behind the curtain. I know he was bothered by it. And, you lose someone like that at that early of an age who is now a mentor for a lot of the younger players in the league. So, it hit a lot of them hard.
I just wonder, have you ever thought about doing commentary, whether it's radio or television commentary about basketball?
I have not given that any thought.
Okay.
I have not.
Well, let's open that. Let's put that on the table too.
Okay. I'm here for it all.
Yeah. Do you feel like you would be good at that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think I could give good perspective and because honestly, I talk to my son a lot about basketball.
Yeah.
We pause in games and.
Well, you could start a podcast just to start things off. But if anybody's watching who works in the NBA, works on ESPN or any of those types of things, we got Monty here.
Hey, here I am.
Who has the ability to do that. I think you'd be really great at that. Especially the technical things, and again, like the observations, a little bit of them on the more human side. And then you just know your stuff, and you kind of know what you're doing.
Yeah. Thank you.
So that'd be fun. That'd be fun. Well, thank you so much, Monty. It's been amazing talking to you, and I can't wait to see what happens next. I'm going to be calling you a lot, so
call me
I apologize.
anytime, Arlan. And I have to say, it is beyond a privilege to be sitting here with you. I admire you since I heard your story at the block party. I was like, oh, she's amazing.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate that. It means a lot to me.
Thank you.